Yo. Alright, my fault. I had to make sure my mic was working. Let me pull up. Let me pull up. Yo, welcome to the worst show on fucking earth. It's your host, Captain fucking Patty. And I'm back at it again, man. Back at it like a fucking crack addict. You up? And I wanted to go back to what I was talking about the other day when I was reviewing, or not reviewing, I was learning about the Palestine and Israel conflict. And I learned some shit, yo. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually fucking dad's over here learning this shit, bro. Fucking 1 a.m. in the morning. I mean, hey, bro. I fucking love it. But I'm gonna go back to where I left off last time. I'm not gonna lie. Not even gonna lie to you guys. And we left off in the 1970s, bro. And we was to be honest, I don't really recall. I was kind of lit last time I was watching this shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. But no, I remember that I learned when Zionism was created, which was like the 1920s, which is kind of fucking nuts. Didn't know that. And and how this whole thing kind of started, bro. How like, you know, Jewish peoples fucking kind of, wanted that land. I'm not gonna lie to you. They wanted that fucking land. And they've been taking that shit, bro. Quite frank. Be quite fucking frank with you, buddy. And yeah, and so yeah, we left off in the 1970s, and we're just gonna pick up right where we left off, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let me start it from the beginning of this, so I can like kind of recall. Oh shit. God damn, I fucking hate ads, bro. Shit's getting the shot of me. Damn. Let me switch this up. Actually, hold on. Let me actually let this play out. Let me turn this fucking down a little bit. And nobody
On September
ever
6th.
will. Alright, so here you go. Here's this fucking guy with the cool hat. And we're leaving off in the 1970s, and we're gonna pick up right where we left off last time. On the Israel versus Palestine conflict, bro. Let's see how the fuck we got here. That's what we're here for. We're here to see how we got here. Alright?
1970, the PFLP would hijack 4 planes and diverted them to Dawson's Field in Jordan.
Oh yeah,
The
one thing I
hijackers
also
would blow up-
learned, my fault to pause the video so fucking quickly and frankly. Israel created terrorism, bro. That's kind of wild. But yeah, and there was a lot of fucking wars and shit like that going on. Well, a lot of mini wars and shit going on way back when, when the Jewish people was trying to establish the state of Israel. Well, before they were trying to establish it, when it was kind of just going there and buying up all the property and shit. And obviously the Arabs didn't like that at all. Not too much, you know what I mean? Facts. And yeah, niggas been fighting since then pretty much, bro. But one thing I also did learn is that fucking whatchamacallit, the Arabs were violent towards the Jewish people first, bro. And I mean, like, I guess I kind of understand, because it's like, yo, these niggas just are coming to our land and, kind of just taking over everything. And so it's like, I don't really blame them, to be honest with you, bro. I don't really blame them boys. All right, so that's everything I remember from last time, bro. I remembered Ottoman Empire held the land first. British mandate Palestine, so the British pretty much held that land second, and they got like transferred over to the Jewish people, where then Jewish people and the Zionism was created in like 1920 something or 1910s, like 1910s, around that time, which is kind of crazy. I thought that shit was like as old as Judaism, but I guess it's not. I guess it's some kind of recent. It's just something to specifically do with fucking Palestine. So there's that. And so yeah, I learned all that kind of stuff and jazz. Last video, it's on YouTube or on my Twitch if you want to see that video. But let's get into this video. My phone, my bad, y'all. I've been fucking chatting. I'm in a chatty ass mood right now. I ain't gonna lie. I just feel like talking, bro. All right, 1970s of the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, bro. Let's see what happened.
Up 3 of the planes after removing the hostages, and this would thereby escalate tension. Jack sought to reach an independent state within Jordan, running its own armed forces and challenging Jordanian sovereignty. And King Hussein would see the PLO as a threat to his monarchy and sought to regain control. On September 6, 1970, the PFLP would hijack 4 planes and diverted them to Dawson's Field in Jordan, and the hijackers would blow up 3 of the planes after removing the hostages, and this would thereby escalate tensions between the PLO and King Hussein. King Hussein of Jordan would then order Jordanian armed forces to oust Palestinian Fedayeen rebel groups from Jordan.
Oh shit! So the Palestinians start fighting the Jordanians. What the fuck? So yeah, I guess they were really trying to establish like this is our land, bro. Like we want our own country. Leave us the fuck alone. Is what they pretty much are trying to establish and trying to say, but niggas is just not listening to these niggas, bro. Like, what the fuck? They don't give a shit at all. Nobody does. But it wasn't. I guess they. I don't know if Jordanians are really trying to help them. I guess they just wanted to keep it. They just wanted to keep it. With Arabs and shit and Muslims and all that kind of jazz. So, but now these niggas is fighting each other. What the fuck? I gotta like low key rewatch this video, or at least like the last 20 minutes. I was lit last time, nigga. Don't blame me. Blame the buzzball. Blame that.
September 16th, 1970, with U.S. and Israeli help, they would launch a full-scale assault on PLO strongholds in Jordan, leading to urban warfare in Amman. Thousands of Palestinians would be killed, with the PLO being expelled from Jordan. And Arafat and the PLO leadership would then flee to Lebanon, where they established new bases. After being forced out of Jordan, the PLO would regroup in Lebanon, where it began launching cross-border raids into Israel. And this move would also contribute to Lebanon's destabilization, leading to eventual civil war. And in retaliation to King Hussein attacking PLO strongholds in Jordan, Jordanian Prime Minister Wasfi al-Tal would be assassinated by Palestinian military.
Is it me or this nigga has like the fucking biggest eyes you've ever seen in your life, bro? This nigga eyes are fucking huge, bro. We're not gonna get in the staring contest with this nigga. You might melt, bro. Dead ass. Nigga sun rays just come up to this nigga's eyes and shit, bro. Shit crazy.
Militants in Cairo. The next year, in 1972, the Munich
I'm a shit talker, by the way. I like to talk shit. Just throwing it out there.
massacre would take place on September 5th. In Black September, a PLO offshoot would take 11 Israeli athletes hostage at the Munich Olympics, and a botched German rescue attempt would lead to all 11 hostages being killed. This massacre would shock the...
Damn! I don't mean to laugh, but that's wild as fuck. It's alright, so they... Wait, who did this? My fault, I'm gonna play it back a little bit, y'all, because I'm like... I'm a little out of it.
By Palestinian militants in Cairo. The next year, in 1972, the Munich massacre would take place on September 5th. In Black September, a PLO offshoot would take 11 Israeli athletes hostage at the Munich Olympics, and a botched German rescue attempt would lead to all 11 hostages being killed. This massacre would shock the world.
That should sound crazy both times.
Unprecedented attention to Palestinian terrorism. In response, Israel would launch a covert operation to assassinate all those responsible for Munich, and Mossad agents would...
I'm talking shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie. It's one of those nights, man. I'm in a shit talking mood. Nigga Jay, right? But so the PLO kidnapped 11 Israeli athletes, bro. And then the Germans, being incompetent as fuck, botched the rescue mission. And they killed all 11 Israel. That's a little wild, man. Let's admit that. That's a little fucking crazy, bro. Niggas are just athletes. Niggas got caught up in some bullshit and end up all dying, bro. Like, not one survivor. That's kind of wild. Not gonna lie.
Systematically track and
fairly
kill
wild, actually.
Palestinian operatives in Europe and the Middle East. The next year, in 1973, Egypt and Syria would launch coordinated attacks on October 6th. On Yom Kippur, which is a Jewish holy day, Egypt and Syria would launch a massive surprise attack on Israeli forces. Egyptian forces crossed the Suez Canal, while Syrian forces attacked the Golan Heights. Israel would suffer heavy losses in the initial days, losing ground to both Egypt and Syria. However, with U.S. military support, Israel would counterattack, recapturing their lost territory, and Israeli forces would cross the Suez Canal and surround Egypt's Third Army.
That's crazy. So these niggas are getting closed in by Syria and Egypt, and then the U.S. came through. It's great because imagine if the U.S. never came through that day and or around that time, and we would not be having this problem we having right now. Probably a completely different problem. Let's be fucking honest, but it wouldn't be this problem. History is shit is just wild that way, bro. I ain't gonna lie. My fault. That was a little pointless, but like I said, I'm in a chat ass mood, so fuck it, nigga. I'm a chat. Fuck.
A ceasefire would then be brokered, and the war would come to an end. In October of 1974, at the Arab
Damn.
League Summit in Rabat, Morocco, the PLO, under Yasser Arafat, would be officially recognized as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. This was a major diplomatic victory for the PLO, as it solidified its role in Palestinian politics.
Word,
And on
good
November
shit.
13th, 1974, Yasser Arafat would speak at the United Nations General Assembly, marking the first time a non-state actor addressed the UN. He famously stated, "I have come bearing an olive branch and a freedom fighter's gun. Do not let the olive branch fall from my hand." A signal that the PLO was now pursuing both armed resistance and political recognition. In December 1974, the United Nations General Assembly would adopt.
No voice came through and started talking their shit. Niggas got their shit together, start talking their shit. Let's fucking go, bro. I love to see that. I guess because I'm talking my shit tonight, nigga, so. Niggas just in shit talking moods, bro. Fuck it.
Resolution 3236, reaffirming Palestinian rights, including the right to self-determination, the right to return to their homeland, and the right to national independence and sovereignty. The PLO was also granted UN observer status, allowing it to participate in debates but not vote. As diplomatic efforts were underway, Palestinian militant groups would begin carrying out high-profile.
That's crazy because when Israel like wanted to establish itself, it got recognized like almost immediately. Like immediately. And then the Palestinians get in there and they try to establish themselves. The niggas said, yeah, I can debate, but y'all can't have a fucking vote. That's bonkers, I ain't gonna lie to you. That's wild. Shit is
Terrorist
fucking
attacks, one of the most notorious being the Savoy Hotel attack in Tel Aviv, as on March 5th, 1975, 8 PLO militants seized the Savoy Hotel, taking hostages and demanding the release of Palestinian prisoners. After an Israeli rescue operation, all hostages were either freed or killed, and 8 Israeli civilians and 3 soldiers were killed, and all but one of the Palestinian attackers were also killed. In an attempt to reduce tensions between Israel and Arab nations, U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger conducted shuttle diplomacy.
I've heard of his name before. And that's what this nigga looks like. I don't know if shout outs to this nigga, but Henry Kissinger.
As on September 1st, 1975, Israel and Egypt signed the Sinai Interim Agreement, in which Israel agreed to withdraw from parts of the Sinai Peninsula in exchange for a temporary peace agreement. The next year, in 1976, on June 27th, Palestinian and German terrorists would hijack an Air France plane, diverting it to Entebbe, Uganda. Now, Uganda, under the control of
Palestinian and German terrorists hijacked a French airplane. Why would the Germans? Damn it! I mean, I understand World War II and shit, but this is like 30 years after. Why they do that? Were they still beefing around that time? What the fuck? Well, insert this nigga. What's this nigga's name, bro? I seen this nigga on like some dictator shit. Oh, I'll say it right now.
France plane, diverting it to Entebbe, Uganda. Now, Uganda, under the control of Idi Amin, notoriously supported the hijackers, who demanded the release of 40 Palestinian prisoners in Israel and the release of 13 other prisoners in Kenya, France, Switzerland, and Germany. And on July 4th, 1976, Israel would launch Operation Thunderbolt, which was a daring rescue mission led by Israeli commandos. 102 hostages would be rescued, and 4 hostages and 1 Israeli soldier, Yonatan Netanyahu, the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Hey, if you live in one of these cities right here, why don't you own an apartment building?
Ladies
Seriously,
and gentlemen,
let me show you a path that could absolutely change.
Would be killed, and
Where's...
all 7 hijackers and dozens.
Oh shit! So it's like a Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the current prime minister of Israel. His brother was killed by Palestinians. Fuck. I mean, Shit, bro. That make a man hold a vendetta for his life. Something to think about. Well, not really is. I mean, I think that's fucking common sense. So, I guess, I mean, not it makes sense, but I see why this nigga probably wouldn't want to come to, peace resolution with Palestine. Do some shit like that. That's crazy.
Of Ugandan soldiers would be killed in turn. This mission would boost Israel's international reputation as a counterterrorism leader. In that same year, municipal election.
That's crazy. Counterterrorism leader when they literally created terrorism. Oh shit.
Will be held in the West Bank under Israeli control, and pro-PLO candidates would win in major cities, indicating growing Palestinian support for the organization, and this would alarm Israel. The next year, on May 17, 1977, the right-wing Likud party, led by Menachem Begin, won the Israeli elections, ending decades of rule by the Labor Party, and Begin had a hardline approach towards Palestinian issues, refusing to negotiate with the PLO, and his government also expanded Jewish settlements into the West Bank. The same year, on March 11th, 1977, Palestinian militants hijacked a bus on Israel's coastal highway, leading to 37 Israelis being killed and 76 being wounded before Israeli security forces stopped the attackers. And the attack led to Israel intensive.
I'm not gonna lie, yo. A lot of Israelis are dying from the hands of Palestinians, bro. It's a lot going on in the 70s, man. So it seems like the Palestinians were kind of had the upper hand in this decade, at least. Shit. I mean, obviously, it's not compared to the numbers now that they got going on, but this is still the early stages. But these niggas been going at it for like, bro, damn near 100 years, yo. The 100-Year War, the new one, bro.
Intensifying its military crackdown on Palestinian militant cells. The next year, in 1978, Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, and U.S. President Jimmy Carter would meet at Camp David, Maryland for historic peace negotiations. As after 13 days of tense diplomacy, the parties would reach a historic agreement known as the Camp David Accords. Israel would agree to.
By the way, I said this in the last video, and this is a brand new video. I don't know why I didn't say it yet. This video is Israel and Palestine, the complete unbiased history. YouTube channel, LJ. I will link this video after, so if you don't want to listen to me fucking talk about it, you can just go straight to that video. You know what I mean?
To withdraw from the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt would become the first Arab country to recognize Israel, and a framework was set for autonomy for Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. However, no direct Palestinian representatives were involved, and the PLO rejected this deal. The agreement was seen as a betrayal by Palestinians and many Arab nations, and the Arab League suspended Egypt, viewing Sadat's recognition of Israel as a violation of Arab unity. On March 26, 1979, Egypt and Israel would go on to formally.
Niggas did not like that. They didn't like that at all. Said the Egyptians are sellouts out here. Fucking A.
We signed a peace treaty in Washington, D.C., and this formally ended 3 decades of war between Egypt and Israel. However, the PLO would increase their attacks on Israel, believing that the Camp David Accords abandoned Palestinian statehood, and Yasser Arafat refused to recognize Israel and align closer with Syria and other Arab hardliners. In 1980, the Israeli government, under Prime Minister Menachem Begin, accelerated settlement construction in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. By 1980, there were.
So beginning 1980s, Israel's expanding the settlements, which, if I understand correctly, are pretty much houses and shit and living quarters in the West Bank, which is not, their land. They're building over there, man, and living like ain't nothing wrong. Like nobody's gonna do nothing about it. Let's see what happens.
Over 70,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank, sparking Palestinian protests and international condemnation. On July 30th, 1980, the Israeli Knesset passed the Jerusalem Law, which formally declared Jerusalem as Israel's eternal and undivided capital. This move effectively annexed East Jerusalem, which had been under Israeli occupation since 1967. And the United Nations condemned the move through UN Security Council Resolution 478, and no country recognized the annexation. And in response, the PLO and Arab states intensified
Damn.
their calls for resistance against Israeli occupation. Palestinian militant groups, particularly the PLO, would increase guerrilla attacks against Israeli targets, both within Israel and abroad, and Israel would respond with airstrikes against PLO bases in Lebanon. The next year, in 1981,
Mm.
Israel would launch Operation Opera, which was a surprise airstrike on Iraq's Osirak nuclear reactor, fearing that Saddam Hussein's regime was developing nuclear weapons. And though Iraq was not directly involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, this attack would heighten tensions between Israel and its Arab neighbors. And on October 6, 1981, Anwar Sadat, the first Arab leader to make peace with Israel, would be assassinated in Cairo by Islamist extremists, that being the Egyptian Islamic Jihad. And his death would
These niggas really did not want to recognize Israel at all. And I mean, I guess that is their right. I mean, or is it? Or is it? If I'm remembering correctly, the fucking Middle East is on a continent named Africa. But it's some other people that been there a little longer. I don't know. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
weaken
Throwing it
Egypt's
out there.
role as a mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. PLO fighters would also begin launching attacks from southern Lebanon into northern Israel, leading to Israeli airstrikes on Palestinian refugee camps and militant bases, and this would all lead to full-scale war in 1982. Now, following an attempted assassination of Israel's ambassador to the UK, Shlomo Argov, by the Abu Nidal organization, Israel would launch a full-scale invasion of Lebanon to destroy PLO bases. The Israeli military would quickly advance into southern Lebanon, reaching Beirut by mid-June, and Israel would besiege West Beirut, the stronghold of the PLO, and heavy Israeli bombings would kill thousands of Lebanese and Palestinian civilians. The PLO would then be eventually forced to evacuate to
So it seems like this is when Israel started not giving a fuck about anything anymore. This is in the 80s. Niggas is like, we done had enough. Yeah. And now they're with the shits. Now them boys is with the shits. My fault. I feel like I'm talking mad low. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it seems like, yeah, Israel's time for get back.
to Tunisia under international supervision, marking a temporary defeat for Palestinian forces. And after the assassination of Lebanese President Bashir Gemayel, an Israeli ally, Christian Phalangist militias would enter the Palestinian refugee camps of Sabra and Shatila, killing between 800 and 3,500 Palestinian refugees.
Good looks.
This massacre was carried out under the watch of the Israeli military, which allowed the militias into the camps. An international outcry led to mass protests in Israel and an Israeli inquiry, which later found the defense minister Ariel Sharon indirectly responsible and forced his resignation. After losing its base in Lebanon, the PLO moved its headquarters to Tunisia, where they continued their operations, and this significantly weakened Palestinian resistance but did not end the conflict. Despite expelling the PLO, Israel would remain in southern Lebanon, occupying a large strip of land known as the Security Zone. And Hezbollah, a new Lebanese Shia militant group, would form in response to Israeli occupation. They, in turn, would be backed by Iran and Syria and quickly became
I'm not gonna lie, yo. Israel's trying to occupy everything, huh? Niggas just taking up like a quarter of Lebanon. Them boys is out here wilding. Fucking bugging. I guess that's the nature of war, right? It's like, bro, like, what you being an asshole? Niggas like, we came in, taking your land. Now we want everything. Everything. It's crazy because these niggas, I remember last stream when they was talking about how these niggas were coming in, like into Palestine and shit like that, or just that area. And these niggas was coming by like the hundreds of thousands, bro, like tens of thousands, like a lot of motherfuckers at once. That's a little crazy. That's a lot of new people. I figure out where to put them. And I guess they're trying to figure that shit out for real, or have been figuring it out, or just, just do whatever the fuck they wanna.
Israel's main enemy in Lebanon. In 1984, Israel would begin indirect peace talks with Jordan as the Reagan administration encouraged King Hussein of Jordan and Israel to explore peace negotiations, and Hussein demanded that Israel withdraw from the West Bank, but no agreement was reached. In 1985, Israel would partially withdraw from Lebanon, as after 3 years of occupation and mounting casualties, they withdrew from most of Lebanon except for the southern security zone where they maintained control, and Hezbollah would go on to intensify attacks against
All right, so Lebanon, they pretty much got the niggas the fuck up out of there. Not gonna lie, got them boys up out of there. Let's see what happens.
Israeli troops.
By the way, yeah, I'm like also learning about this right now. Like I said in the last stream, I've heard a lot about this conflict, and every time I watch a video on it, it's like, you know, someone's either really like Palestine, or someone's pro-Israel, and it's just, you know, a bit biased on both sides. So I just wanted to hear the complete unbiased history. And yeah, facts. That's why we're here, and then, you know, you guys learning with me. Join me on this fucking journey of learning about murder and death, yo, pretty much.
Troops in the remaining occupied areas. On October 7th, 1985, a PLO-affiliated group would hijack the Akil Loro cruise ship, killing a disabled Jewish-American passenger, Leon Klinghoffer, and in retaliation, Israel would launch airstrikes on PLO bases in Tunisia, killing around 60 people. By 1986, Israeli settlements in the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem had expanded significantly under the Likud government of Shimon Peres, and the Israeli government would provide financial incentives like tax breaks, cheap land, and subsidies to encourage Israeli citizens to move into settlements. And the number of Israeli...
Yo, I don't know if this is like super racist, but is it me, or do all of these niggas have big ass ears, bro? Like, every time they showed the Israeli prime minister, these niggas all had like humongous ears. Nigga ears as big as shit. Dogs. I guess that's just like a stand down for them. Just fucking ears the size of their fucking head. Shit. Big ass ears. Big ass earlobes. My phone might examine this nigga's face right now. That shit is wild. Pause.
Israeli settlers in the West Bank and Gaza would surpass 60,000, and Palestinian workers and students would stage protests, strikes, and minor uprisings against Israeli rule, while Palestinian militant groups such as Fatah and the PFLP and the DFLP would gain more recruits and increase attacks against Israeli targets. Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin would intensify the Iron Fist policy, which aimed to suppress Palestinian nationalism and militancy. Thousands of Palestinians would be arrested, with many placed under administrative detention or imprisonment without trial, and torture and harsh interrogation methods were reported in Israeli prisons, further fueling Palestinian anger. In 1986, the Iran-Contra affair would also be exposed, revealing secret U.S. arms sales to Iran, some of which were facilitated by Israel, as Israel had been secretly supplying Iran with weapons since the early 1980s, and this exposure kind of...
That nigga do look mad evil though. He said, bro. Nigga stupid, son. Bro, all these niggas look evil as shit, nigga. All these niggas
of embarrassed both Israel and the United States, leading to political fallout. By 1987, Israel had over 80,000 settlers in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and unemployment in Gaza.
So that shit doubled within like a 5-year span, bro. That shit doubled in a 5-year span, about probably like 3 years actually, nigga. This is the beginning. Well, this is like towards that. It's probably like, all right, like 5 years. 40,000 to 80,000 settlers in a different country, nigga, that's not theirs. Bro. Israel's wildin', I'm not gonna lie. Niggas is wildin'. We're just going over there and saying, yo, bro, we're just gonna put people here. We're just gonna start building houses right here, bro. That's like mad dangerous. I mean, obviously, I mean, nigga, you got niggas, citizens living in a different country, but I guess they don't really recognize the country, so I mean, I guess it doesn't really fucking matter to them, does it? I mean, nobody pretty much recognized it. I mean, these niggas got put into UN and they was allowed to debate but not vote about anything. Yo, that shit is crazy. That shit still like mind-boggling to me. It's like, yo, bruh, the world does not fuck with the Arabs, huh?
And the West Bank was rising, while Israeli
shit.
policies favored settlers over the local Palestinian population. And Palestinians at this point saw no progress towards statehood, as the PLO remained in exile in Tunisia, and Arab states were more focused on other regional conflicts like the Iran-Iraq War and Lebanese Civil War. The First Intifada would also begin this year, and the immediate trigger for this uprising was an apparent traffic accident in which an Israeli military truck collided with a civilian car in Gaza, killing 4 Palestinian workers. And many believe that the incident was intentional, as the accident came a day after an Israeli was killed in Gaza. Funerals would turn into mass demonstrations with thousands protesting Israeli occupation, and clashes would erupt between Palestinian youths and Israeli soldiers, marking the beginning of the Intifada. Palestinians would launch an economic boycott of Israeli products and refuse to pay taxes to Israeli authorities, and general strikes shut down Palestinian businesses and many workers
okay.
with their Israeli.
All right, because it's crazy. Cause I was wondering earlier. I'm like, all right, because since they didn't recognize the Palestinians as a state or a nation or a country or what you want to call it, what kind of currency were they using back then? Like well, at least in like what Palestine was trying to make Palestine at the time, the land they were trying to make. Were they using the Israeli currency, which I have no idea what the hell it is? Were they using that, or did they have their own shit? I mean, obviously it must have been using, but I guess they must have been using the Israeli currency because they started to refuse to pay taxes. And so, I mean, if you're paying taxes to a fucking country, I guess you have to use their currency, right? So, okay. And so, I mean, this is pretty much all Israel at this point. Like, the country is pretty much Israel.
Jobs, and Palestinian youths, often called Shabab, would throw stones and Molotov cocktails at Israeli soldiers and vehicles. Barricades and roadblocks were set up to disrupt Israeli military movement. Israel would respond to suppress the uprising, which only fueled Palestinian anger, as Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin would order the military to crush the Intifada with force. As
Bro, I don't know who's taking these pictures of these niggas, bro, but these niggas really do look all evil as hell. This nigga, like, he don't give a fuck about life at all, bro. Like, this nigga just wants to drop a bomb. He don't care on who it is, where it is. This nigga just is focused on dropping a bomb, bro. Look at this nigga. He don't give a fuck about nothing at all.
live ammunition, rubber bullets, and tear gas would be used regularly, and thousands of Palestinians would be arrested, and suspected activists were subjected to beatings and administrative detention without trial. And Israeli forces would also be caught on camera breaking the arms and legs of Palestinian protesters as a form of punishment. This led to international outrage, with media.
Oof. All right. God damn. Shit is starting to get real. Well, shit's been real because a lot of people have been, fucking murdered. I don't know why I looked fucking murdered. And Israel looks like they're turning up the fucking heat, man. These niggas is like, this is our country. Pretty much saying this is our country. Shut the fuck up. Deal with it. If you're not gonna deal with it, we're breaking arms and legs. Like, these niggas is breaking. That's crazy. Niggas out there peacefully protesting and they getting their arms and legs broken. That shit gotta hurt, bro. You can't walk nor eat. Or do anything, actually. Niggas' fucking body is crippled. Niggas are... What was the population? Like, what was, like, the... I wonder if he talks about, like... I know a lot of Israelis has moved in. Obviously, there's a lot of them settling into the Gaza Strip and the West Bank at this time, which is 30 years ago from today. Niggas been there for a minute. For mad long.
Coverage bringing global attention to the occupation. Entire towns and refugee camps will be placed under curfew for weeks at a time. And during the first Intifada, over 1,200 Palestinians would be killed by Israeli forces between 1987 and 1993, and over 100 Israelis were killed, mostly soldiers and settlers who were targeted by Palestinian attacks. And tens of thousands of Palestinians would be injured or imprisoned. In December of 1987, Hamas would be founded in Gaza as a Palestinian Islamist group opposing both Israel and the PLO, and Hamas advocated for armed resistance and the establishment of Islamic State, which also created a major divide within Palestinian politics as Hamas outright rejected peace talks with Israel. By 1988, the first Intifada
All right,
was
so Hamas
still in.
enters Hamas, late 80s. All right. Damn, I know he's not. That's crazy. Niggas been around for mad long too. 30 fucking years. All right, so I enter Hamas, late 80s. Let's go.
Intensifying. And on November 15th, 1988, at a meeting of the Palestinian National Council in Algiers, Yasser Arafat would declare the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. This declaration implicitly recognized Israel by stating a desire for a two-state solution, and over 90 countries quickly recognized the Palestinian state, but the U.S. and Israel rejected it.
All right, so 1988, Hamas, when they took over, and I'm sure these niggas said two-state solution, so they recognized Israel, but Israel did not recognize them. At this point, I'm guessing Israel's completely over it, obviously. I mean, they're breaking the legs and arms of fucking peaceful protesters and shit. Safe to say they were over peace talks and just wanted these niggas to fuck up out of there.
In 1989, while fighting the Intifada, Israel would accelerate settlement construction in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and by 1989, over 200,000 Israeli settlers were living in occupied territories.
Bro, yo, these niggas are tweaking. All right, so last number we heard was 80,000, now 200,000. But this, I guess, they said everywhere they occupy. So that I know, from what I've seen, was what Lebanon and Palestine. Well, Palestine just got recognized a year before, officially, pretty much. So, 1988, Palestine became, according to others finally recognized it as its own state, nation state, in 1988, and in 1989, the Israelis were out here still saying fuck you. We are going to build wherever we want to. This is all our land. We own all of this. This is ours. So let's see what Hamas does. And Hamas got recognized immediately. So I guess they must have been super legit. You know what I mean?
And at this time, also with the collapse of the Soviet Union, hundreds of thousands of Soviet Jews would immigrate to Israel, thereby reshaping Israeli society. And this also boosted Israel's population and led to heightened tensions as new arrivals sought jobs and housing. In 1990, Iraq under Saddam Hussein would invade Kuwait, and the PLO and Yasser Arafat would publicly support Saddam, believing that he in turn would support the Palestinian cause. However, this backfired terribly as Gulf Arab states would cut funding to the PLO after the war, and hundreds of thousands of Palestinian workers would be expelled from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, creating an economic crisis in Palestinian territories. In 1991, after the Gulf War, the U.S. pressured Israel and Arab states to engage in peace talks, and for the first time, Israel and Palestinian representatives met at a formal conference. However, Israel refused to negotiate directly.
Who are the Palestinian representatives? That's what I'm wondering. Were they from? I'm guessing Hamas. It has to be, not the PLO, because the PLO is out here. I'm not gonna lie, taking fucking L's left and right. So.
With the PLO, so Palestinians were represented under the Jordanian delegation. There were no breakthroughs, so Palestine conference. However, Israel refused to negotiate directly with the PLO, so Palestinians were represented under the Jordanian.
So obviously not the PLO, taking another L. No offense to them, but it is L galore right now. And so Jordania, that's crazy. So everybody besides actual fucking like Palestinians that actually live there and shit.
In delegation, there were no breakthroughs, but the conference would lay the small groundwork for future negotiations. In 1992, Yitzhak Rabin would defeat the right-wing Likud party, and he promised to seek peace with Palestinians, but also maintain Israeli security as his government cracked down on Hamas while secretly opening negotiations with the PLO. Israeli and Palestinian officials would begin.
All right. So the Palestinians I'm not gonna lie. At this point in time, early '90s, needed to get their shit together. Like, you got two sides of their fucking government. Recognize, like, it's all over the fucking place. Like, Hamas is in charge, it seems like, around this time. But then they're making deals with the PLO. Like, sounds like it's a breeding ground for just confusion and what the fuck is going on ism.
Secret negotiations in Oslo, Norway. And in 1993, the Oslo Accords, officially known as the Declaration of Principles on Interim Self-Government Arrangements, was signed on September 13th and marked the first direct
1983.
formal agreement between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This agreement laid the foundation for
Alright.
limited
So between Israel and the PLO. First time they made an agreement. So I guess this puts the PLO back on top in Palestine. So I'm guessing. So a W for the PLO, man.
Palestinian self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and it signaled a major shift from armed conflict towards diplomatic negotiation, at least
Good.
temporarily. This agreement led to the creation of the Palestinian Authority, which was an interim self-government body with limited administrative powers over parts of West Bank, Gaza, and they would be responsible for internal security, education, health, and municipal services in those areas. Israel would also agree to withdraw its military presence from parts of Gaza Strip and the West Bank town of Jericho in the first stage, and the accords were designed to be a temporary agreement as it was based on a 5-year timeline for reaching a permanent status agreement. The accords
5
were
years.
signed on the White House lawn in Washington, D.C., with U.S. President Bill Clinton presiding and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat would shake hands.
It's like crazy. Like, why the fuck are these niggas doing it in the United States? I ain't gonna lie, the U.S. been running shit, bro. I love being from the United States. I fucking love that shit. But alright. So then they come to the United States for some odd fucking reason to make this agreement.
Hands in a historic moment that was broadcast around the world. Peace in the Middle East.
It's crazy because these niggas probably hate each other's fucking guts, looking at each other, just like want to rip each other's eyeballs out, fucking gouge each other's fucking noses, and fucking shitting each other's cereal, bro, pretty much. And it's crazy because these niggas shake hands, right? The two leaders of their respective countries. And they send all the young people out there to fucking murder each other, bro, as these niggas sit here and shake hands and smile. Well, this nigga right here is not smiling. The Israeli guy, well, the other guy in the back is fucking clapping hard as shit. But this guy right here, shaking the hand, looks like he does not want to do that at all, whatsoever.
This image became a symbol of cautious hope, though skeptics on both sides would remain. Right.
The PLO nigga is cheesing, though. That nigga's actually cheesing hard as fuck. Smiling hard as shit. You can tell this fucking picture is grainy as hell. This nigga, you can tell this nigga is ecstatic.
Fully so. In 1994, the Gaza-Jericho Agreement would be signed by Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin, and it granted the newly formed Palestinian Authority limited autonomy in the Gaza Strip and in the Jericho area of the West Bank. This would mark the first formal transfer of territory from Israel to Palestinian self-governance, which was a major milestone.
I said that is a major milestone. So, all right, in the 90s, seems like a lot is getting done on the diplomatic side, which is, you know, I feel like you probably should try that before going to fucking war. You know what I mean? Bro. 1980s, man.
In the peace process, given the history, and after decades in exile, Arafat would return to Gaza to set up the Palestinian Authority. His arrival was met with mass celebrations, but also internal tensions, as critics feared that he was building an autocratic regime under the guise of state building. The Palestinian Authority was established as a transnational.
Humans are always going to be the same. This nigga does something good for you guys. He pretty much stops the war. You guys get some land back. And the first thing they think is, oh, nah, this nigga's trying to become a fucking king. Nigga's trying to become a fucking dictator. They didn't give my mans a chance, bro. This nigga's landed, bro. God damn.
National governing body responsible for
Fuck.
civilian and security affairs in the territories handed over by Israel, and it had limited sovereignty as Israel still retained control over borders, airspace, and settlement. But this was a good step towards peace. However, that same year in 1994, Baruch Goldstein, a US-born Israeli settler, entered the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron and would murder 29 Palestinian Muslim worshippers during Ramadan. This was an act of
So I
terrorism.
guess that's what you would consider a fucking Zionist right there, bro. An American Jew. Niggas is really angry over this whole situation, bro. I mean, I understand why, but like, god damn, niggas killed 29 innocent people, and he's not even from that land. Like, what the fuck? I wonder like what be going through niggas' brains sometimes, yo. Like niggas' brains just be instead of a hamster wheel, just like a gun on a fucking hamster wheel out here, bro. Just spinning, bro. No safety or anything, bro. Just ready to shoot anything, any direction, not giving a fuck where it lands. This nigga killed 29.
That shocked the world. And Israel imposed temporary curfews on Palestinians while settlers were largely unrestricted. This massacre would severely damage Palestinian trust in the peace process, and it also sparked mass protests and deadly clashes in the West Bank of Gaza.
Yeah.
Goldstein's gravesite would become a pilgrimage site for Zionist extremists, as the following words would be inscribed on his tomb. He gave his life for the people of Israel, its Torah, and land. He was called a martyr with clean hands and a pure heart. In 1995, the Oslo II Accord, also known as the Taba,
Just shows you where they stand, bro. This nigga became a fucking national hero for them. After just going in and killing 29 random people that, well, not random people, but Palestinians, but just 29 random Palestinians who probably were just living their fucking life, literally. Just hanging out. Yo, some crazy motherfuckers out there, bro. Crazy.
agreement would divide the West Bank into areas A, B, and C. Area A would have full Palestinian civil and security control, mostly major cities. Area B would have Palestinian civil control with Israeli security control, and Area C would...
Do you niggas see the difference in the control, bro? Like, Israeli has all the land, pretty much. And then sold these niggas back. Well, not sold back, but gave these niggas back. Crumbs. Little fucking crumbs.
remain under full Israeli control. This accord
And joint Israeli/Palestinian control. Let's see how long this shit lasts, yo. Something tells me not very long at all. At all.
was designed to be a step-by-step process towards final status talks, but it also created more obstacles than solutions. In this same year, Israeli Prime Minister
I didn't even
Yitzhak
peep the
obstacles and
percentages
solutions.
on
In
the
this
top of this fucking video. So Area C, which is Israeli control, 60%. Area A, which is Palestinian control, 18%. Like, they had less of a percentage than the joint shit. God damn. Look at that. It's nothing. Oh shit, wrong. It's nothing there. Well, at least compared to Israel, bro. I mean, obviously you probably fit a lot of people in these lands right here, but nigga, Israel, you can fit the whole world in Israel, bro. Look how much land they got, nigga. Like, god damn.
same year, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin would be assassinated by Yigal Amir, a far-right Israeli extremist who opposed the Oslo Accords. This assassination would shatter...
Damn, so you got the citizens out here murdering the leader. Well, I mean, I guess not his leader, because he obviously strongly opposed the recognition pretty much of Palestine, bro.
the Israeli peace camp and created a leadership vacuum, and Shimon Peres, Rabin's foreign minister, would assume the role of prime minister. The next year in 1996, Yasser Arafat would be elected president of the Palestinian Authority with 88% of the vote, and the elections were largely free and fair, though opposition groups like Hamas boycotted the vote, and this all led to the Palestinian Legislative Council, or PLC.
That's what I'm saying, like, they got mad just different factions in Palestine at this time. It's like you niggas got a whole war going on. Niggas is beefing him. Oh man, bro.
formed. That same year, Benjamin Netanyahu would become the youngest Israeli prime minister,
So this thing looks the same still. Just a little more wrinkles.
narrowly defeating Shimon Peres, and he was openly skeptical of Oslo as he criticized territorial concessions and froze many aspects of the peace process, though he did not cancel any of the agreements outright. Israel would also launch a military operation in Lebanon against Hezbollah, which was a conflict that reflected broader regional volatility that was also loosely connected to Palestinian conflict. The operation would end after the shelling of a UN compound in Qana would kill over 100 civilians, of course, prompting international condemnation. In 1997, Netanyahu's government and the Palestinian Authority agreed to a partial Israel.
And guys, remember, this nigga's brother was killed by Palestinians way back in the day. And so just keep that in mind when you see what the hell this nigga's doing today, or what his government is doing today. That's crazy because this is 1990. Towards the end of the 90s, I think I've been in power for the past 20 years. Doesn't sound very democratic to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Israeli withdrawal from Hebron, the last major West Bank city under full Israeli control. The city was split, 80% under the Palestinian Authority control and 20% under Israeli control. On the other hand, this year, Netanyahu also approved the controversial Har Homa settlement near East Jerusalem, which drew international condemnation and was viewed by Palestinians as a violation of the Oslo Accords. And the next year, in 1998, the Y River talks, brokered by President Bill Clinton, would bring together Netanyahu, Arafat, and King Hussein of Jordan, and Israel agreed to further redeploy troops from the West Bank. And
the Israelis do not want to sign any of these contracts. Look at this nigga's face. Look at this nigga's forehead. Bro, this nigga is not with it at all, obviously.
the Palestinian Authority agreed to crack down
Cool
on
picture,
the
though.
militant groups
Really
attacking
cool picture.
Israelis. Because of this, Netanyahu would face strong opposition from his right-wing coalition, and his right-wing allies accused him of capitulating to U.S. and Palestinian demands. Therefore, his popularity would decline at the time. The next year, in 1999, Ehud Barak, a former IDF chief of staff and the leader of the Labor Party, would win the position of prime minister by promising to revive peace negotiations as he pledged to withdraw Israeli forces from Lebanon and reach a final agreement with Palestinians within a
shit.
year. Ehud would begin talks with Arafat and the Palestinian Authority, aiming to finalize the permanent status issues that were postponed by Oslo, and optimism would briefly return to the peace process. Ehud and Arafat would meet multiple times, preparing for what would become the 2000 Camp David summit. Now, the next
So niggas really they're out here trying to really make peace, bro. And this all like started in the 90s when the peace talks like was really getting fucking serious. After, you know, murder from people that are not the top. It's crazy.
year, in July of 2000, U.S. President Bill Clinton invited Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and the Palestinian Authority President Yasser Arafat to Camp David to try to finalize a, quote, final status.
Did not know that Benjamin, I guess he wasn't fucking dictator for 20 years straight, or just the ruler of that country for 20 years straight. Nigga came back at it like a jackrabbit.
This agreement. Barak offered a Palestinian state covering about 90 to 91% of the West Bank and all of Gaza with land swaps, and East Jerusalem would be divided, with Palestinians getting control over Arab neighborhoods and some oversight of religious sites. However, Arafat rejected the deal, arguing that it did not guarantee full sovereignty, especially over East Jerusalem and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it didn't sufficiently address the right return for Palestinian refugees, and the summit would end without agreement. Fuck. Later that year, on September 28th, 2000, Ariel Sharon, the then leader of Israel's Likud party and a highly controversial figure, would visit the Temple Mount, or Haram al-Sharif, in Jerusalem's Old City, accompanied by hundreds of Israeli police officers. And though technically a legal visit, his presence at one of Islam's holiest sites was seen by Palestinians as a provocative and deliberate assertion of Israeli authority over East Jerusalem. And although the site is sacred to both Muslims and Jews, it was already a flashpoint for religious and political tensions. And the day after
I ain't gonna say anything. All I'm gonna say is that a lot of these niggas came from like Eastern Europe. You know what I mean? Like the whole different world. I mean, they said they own this land, man. It says land belongs to them.
The visit, Palestinian protests would erupt, beginning at Al-Aqsa and spreading across the West Bank and Gaza. Israeli police would then respond with live ammunition and rubber bullets. Around a day into
Shit,
the
bussin', you are. I am low-key high-key addicted to my vape, so I will be pulling this shit repeatedly. You say that shit fast 3 times.
protests on September 30th, 2000, images of 12-year-old Mohammed al-Dura killed in crossfire in Gaza while sheltering with his father would be broadcast around the world, further inflaming public outrage. And unrest would quickly escalate from demonstrations to widespread armed clashes, leading to the beginning of the Second
What the fuck?
Intifada.
Oh, that was my
Militant groups
computer.
like Hamas,
Thought my shit was tweaking. But damn, bro.
Islamic Jihad, and Fatah's Tanzim would launch gunfire attacks, ambushes, and suicide bombings, as Israeli civilians and soldiers would be increasingly targeted, especially at roadblocks, settlements, and city borders. And the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, would respond with tanks, helicopters, and live ammunition. And urban centers like Nablus, Ramallah, Hebron, and Gaza City will become battlegrounds. By the end of 2000, over 250 Palestinians will be killed, including many minors.
That's crazy. So niggas just made peace, and 2 years later, niggas is like, fuck peace. Fuck your peace, bro. We want land, nigga. Fuck peace. Land is all we care about, bro.
And around 40 Israelis would be killed, being mostly soldiers and civilians, and hundreds more would be injured on both sides.
Like I said, mainly soldiers and civilians. Like, there's like another, like, just. I mean, not talk shit because this nigga is spitting and actually teaching me something on this video, but
The peace process had completely collapsed. Negotiations froze, and trust was evaporated. By 2001, daily clashes, shootings, and bombings would occur across West Bank, Gaza Strip, and inside Israel, and both Palestinian militants and Israeli security forces would carry out their own attacks and raids.
them boys is not playing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Alright, so I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Nigga, it is late. And I'm tired, bro. I'm exhausted. I actually had a long fucking day today. But it's neither here nor there, but alright. So we do know in the 90s, there was a lot of progress actually made between these two countries. I mean, obviously Palestinians were recognized by Hamas. Hamas was in charge when that happened, by the way. But yeah, they've had a lot of peace talks in the 90s, and now they're trying to murder each other again. These niggas do not, like, but like, it's like, I gotta understand, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want someone, you know, come to my land and, you know, dictate and run shit. It's like, fuck out of here, nigga. This is my shit, nigga. I know how to run this shit, bro. It's my shit. Like, I know how to run this shit, nigga. I'm not need your help at all. But yo, I'm definitely gonna come back tomorrow so I can finish this up, yo. Cause I do want to finish this video and like officially be a fucking scholar level guy when it comes to this situation and just know everything about it. But I am learning a lot. I should have took some notes, but nigga, my handwriting's trash, so it's like, fucking nigga, I might as well just remember it. But then my memory's trash too, nigga. But if there's a will, there's a way. Alright? Leave it off on that. Good night, motherfuckers. This was the worst show on earth with your host, Captain Patty. Like I said, I will be back tomorrow. And less high. And we're going to get at it. We're going to get it in. We're going to learn more. And like I said, from an unbiased point of view, truly am. I feel like I've been equally harsh to both sides as I watch this video. Both sides has fucked up. Facts. But y'all, I'm off this, nigga. Good night. Captain Pat. Yes, sir. Ski.